Okay, so welcome back to this tutorial. In this video I'm going to be talking about multithreading. And for those of you who don't know what multithreading is a way of making your application faster by having different functions running at the same time inside of that process. A thread is simply just a lightweight process. So in C#, .NET, you already have using system.threading namespace, which enables you to have the classes for multithreading in C#. So you definitely need that if you want to code in C# and use multithreading functionalities. So I already have a class over here called codefile1.cs, and I have a class inside of there called threadwork, and that's where I'm going to do the different functionalities that I want to run at the same time when the process is active. So I'm going to have just have a public int I equals 0. Then I'll have two functions. The first one I'll just call public void first count, and I'll have another one called public void second count. Oops. Okay, and in these two functions, that's where I'm going to actually have the code that I want to run at the same time with the multi-thread functionalities. So I'll have a for loop for I equals 0, I is less than 100, I plus plus. Okay, and I'll do the same at the bottom. In this case, I'll do x, so I'll do for int x equals 0, x is less than 100, and x plus plus. Okay, so now that I have those two for loops there, now I'm going to write a little bit of code inside there. So I'll just show you what is actually going on. So I'll just have I'll do a console.writeLine and first thread and plus I, and I'll have thread.sleep, that way the processes don't overlap each other, so it'll wait for 1 second before it executes the next process. So thread.sleep, and let's wait 10, and at the bottom I'll just do the same thing. I'll just copy and paste this code over and change a little bit. So let's have second thread, and this will allow you to see the first and second thread. In this case, we're going to have x value because it's the second count, and at the same time we're also going to have thread.sleep. Okay, so now that we have those two functions there, we're actually going to go back to the program.cs file, and that's where we're actually going to instantiate these two functions. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is create a new variable of the threadwork class. So I'll call it threadwork, and we'll call it thr equals new threadwork. Okay, and the first thread, I need to create a variable for that thread. So I need thread, and this is the variable class used for the thread, and we'll call it first. And we'll do new equals new thread, and we'll create do again new thread start, and thr dot first count. Okay. Okay, looks like everything's good. So now we'll just do the second thread for the second function of the second count, and we'll do the same thing. Thread second was new thread, and new thread start. Whoops. And thr dot second count. Okay. Now that we have that, we're actually just going to start the two threads, similar to the same way that you start a process. So we'll do first start, and that'll start the new thread, the first thread, and then we'll also do second start. And at the bottom I have a console.readline so that the application won't close out after it's done. So now we can just run this. It looks like I have no errors and no warnings. That's good. And now you can actually see the two threads running at the same time. And all I did was have two for loops going up to the count of 100, and it's executing the first thread and second thread at the same time 100 times. So as you can see here, I have first thread 0, second thread 0. So it makes that count go at the same time, because obviously with the multi-threaded I don't have to do first thread from 0 to 100 and then do second thread from 0 to 100. Instead, I'm doing first thread and second thread simultaneously up till it reaches 100. So it's a much faster way of having your application run. And as you can see at the bottom, it just finishes up to 99 and does the same thing. It just runs simultaneously. And that is it for your tutorial on multithreading in C#.net.